Hi guys, welcome to Solving Two-Step Inequalities. Today we're going to be learning the steps to do this and solve any equality. So step number one is write the inequality. So here we have 5x minus 4 is greater than or equal to 11. All right, so let's just review our vocabulary here. This is the coefficient. It's any number multiplied by your variable. This is a constant and this is a constant. Our goal is to get x all by itself. And in order to do that, we're going to follow these simple steps. Step number two is to add or subtract the constant that is on the same side as your variable. Because remember, we want to get this variable all by itself. It likes to be lonely. So here we go. So we're going to use the inverse operation. Here it's subtraction, so the opposite would be addition. So we're going to add 4 to both sides, right? Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So here, negative 4 plus 4 cancels out, and we are left with 5x is greater than or equal to 15. Now our inequality symbol just comes down unchanged because the only time it's ever going to flip is if we multiply or divide by a negative number, which we're not going to do here. So step number 3 is multiply or divide by the coefficient. Now this 5 here is our coefficient. It's the number out in front of the x that shows us we're multiplying x by 5. Okay, but we want to get x alone, so we're going to divide by that coefficient. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. That cancels out, and we're left with x is greater than or equal to 3. And we're done because x is alone, and we're going to do a quick check and say, is our inequality symbol pointing the same direction? Yes. So that's how we're solving two-step inequalities, these simple steps. So let's try another one. We have b divided by negative 3 plus 4 is less than 13. So step number 1, write the inequality. We did it. Step number 2, add or subtract the constant that's on the same side as our variable. So this is the same side of the inequality. This is the constant we're talking about. So it's plus 4. The opposite would be to subtract 4. So we're going to do that to both sides. That cancels out, and we still have b divided by negative 3 is less than, 13 minus 4 would give us 9. Now, here we have b divided by 3. Now, when it says multiply or divide by the coefficient, we are going to use the inverse operation. So if it's b divided by negative 3, the inverse of division is multiplication. So we're going to multiply by negative 3. And you can think of it as 3 over 1 if you want to. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, now that's going to cancel out, and we're just going to have b. Now this is the tricky part, and over here we're going to have negative 27. Now remember I told you if you multiply or divide by a negative inequality, symbol flips. Okay, so instead of pointing that direction, it's going to point the opposite direction. So this is our solution. Any number greater than negative 27 would work for a possible value for b. All right, so let's do another part. Let's graph these on a number line. So if we had negative 27 on a number line, we would know that any value greater than that would be a possible solution. So it's going to be moving this way. Now it can't be at negative 27, so we're going to have an open circle there. Okay, here, let's draw a number line. Here is 3, and x is any value greater than or equal to 3. So we're going to have a closed circle because we know it can be equal to 3, and it can be any number greater than 3 there. All right, so that's what it looks like to graph. Now remember, these are your steps, right? The inequality, add or subtract the constant that's on the same side as your variable. Just use the inverse operation, right? So if it's minus 4, you're going to add 4. If it's plus 4, you're going to subtract 4. See how that works? And step 3 is multiply or divide by the coefficient. So remember, use the inverse operation. If it's 5 times x, you're going to divide by 5. If it is b divided by 3, the inverse of division is multiplication. So you're going to multiply by 3. See how that works? Those easy steps will help you solve two-step inequalities. Do remember that if you multiply or divide by a negative number, the inequality symbol flips direction. So here are a couple more examples. If we had 6y minus 7 is greater than 5. First step, add or subtract the constant that's on the same side as your variable. Okay, so inverse of subtraction is addition. So we're going to add 7 to both sides. Remember, whatever you do to one side of the inequality symbol, you have to do to the other side. This cancels out, so we're left with 6y is greater than 12. Then we divide by the coefficient in front of our variable. So we're going to divide both sides by 6 and have y is greater than 2. And that's our final answer. Now, if we put this on a number line, we would say, all right, any value greater than 2 is a possible solution for y. And we know it can't be equal to 2 because it has to be greater than. So because there's no equal sign, we have to have an open circle. Now, I also want you to see how to solve ones when you have the distributive property. Okay, so that would be step number 1 is write the equation. Step number 2 would be distributive property. Okay, so negative 7 times x gives you negative 7x. Negative 7 times 3 gives you a negative 21. Okay, your inequality symbol is unchanged, so that stays the same. Step number 3 is going to be add or subtract the constant on the same side as your variable. So we're going to add 21 to both sides. Okay. When we do that, we have negative 7x is less than or equal to, this is 49. Step number 4 is going to be to divide by coefficient. Okay. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 7. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. This cancels out. X is greater than or equal to negative 7. Now you notice our inequality symbol flipped because when you when you multiply or divide by a negative number, your inequality symbol flips. All right. So there's our answer. If we were to graph that, we have negative 7 and we have a closed circle because it could be equal to negative 7, and any values greater than that are going to be possible solutions for x. There we go.